Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super Fantify. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the finale, I think comfortably can say the series finale of Onmyo Kaiten Rebirth Verse. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So immediately picking up for the last episode, where obviously it seems like all their plans have kind of fallen apart, and Seimei's kind of got the feeling like, well, there's nothing else to do. The Gimbu Tower was supposed to be their last chance to use the radar to track down a great bird, but now that that's been destroyed, like, they're at their wits' end, and Tsukimiya is just as strong and keeping them down. Luckily, Yura and the other Onmyoji there help protect him, but it's coming down to the wire. And luckily, the Fire Rat is there to back him up, because it's always been by Tsukimiya's side, but it just like Takeru wants to stop her, kind of save her from her own madness. So summons up his Yasha mode and he attacks. And this is where we see the divide, the divide between Takeru's power he gets from the Great Time Bird versus Tsukimiya's. Tsukimiya's is all about deleting possible futures where she could get hurt and, self-preservation and all that, whereas Takeru's is about creating possibilities and where he can hit the enemy. So, and that's something that in that moment that finally, Seimei realizes and understands Takeru's ability. I mean, and I love the instances of it showing it throughout the entire season, showing us it's always been there. He has always managed to kind of do what seemed like might be the impossible, because his own determination, pouring his feelings into doing everything, putting his all into something, is him using the Time Bird's power to create possibilities. Even when he dies, he's got all this regret and fire in his soul that I want to do something. I can do something this time. And that's how him traveling to parallel worlds manages to work with the Great Time Bird as well, because it's all about him creating the possibility for himself and for the future. So he is able to kind of land blows against Tsukimiya, even though it seems impossible. And I love those moments, because it's right, she's the villain that thinks she's unstoppable. In those moments, wait, how is this possible? And that kind of ignites a fire in Seimei, all right, Takeru is going to be our last ditch effort, especially because Atsunaga let her know, yeah, I'm a little banged up and the tower is going, but luckily the radar gave us the Great Bird's location beforehand. So all they have to do is get Takeru to where the Time Bird is and end this once and for all. And so Seimei has Kazura and Shino by his side, which even they're kind of thinking yeah, it's kind of funny, all of us working together. In fact, leaving it all to Takeru too. Never knew that they'd get to this point, but funny enough, they're hedging all their bets on him and understanding more so how his power works, because much like Takeru using the particles of all this to give him his Yasha mode, the same thing is for the Great Time Bird. It also uses those particles to do what it needs to do as well. So it's all about Takeru sensing where the Time Bird is location and just drawing himself there. And with one little bit of help from the Fire Rat, one more time, he goes there and faces off against the Time Bird, while Yura and Atsunaga in a Shikigami work alongside Seimei to see this, and they're trying their best, but especially when Takeru is going up against the Great Time Bird, Tsukimiya loses her get out of jail free card. I mean, yes, she's still crazy powerful, but she doesn't have the whole she can get away with not getting hit at all, because the Time Bird is more focused. It doesn't have the wherewithal, and it's so focused on trying to keep its own self-preservation in play, it can't protect Tsukimiya. So it gives them at least a better fighting chance than previously. And so Takeru is going all out against the Time Bird, but the problem is it doing what it did for Tsukimiya, but even on a greater scale, where it is destroying any possibility of Takeru ever hurting it. And with each blow, it's also deleting parts of him out of existence. And so bits and pieces of his body are being taken away, but he's still pushing forward all the possibilities he can imagine, trying to hit this thing, blow after blow after blow, and it deletes him only up to like a fragment of his body's left, and he's drifting away. And it seems like this might be the end for him. It's like, is this really the end? Tsukimiya's back to being protected again, and it's like everything seems to be on the downturn until Takeru hears words from his parents about like not giving up. Because Takeru's always tried to handle things alone, but it's like, you're not in this alone. And he sees like all these orbs, which are like the thoughts and the feelings of everyone that died. Those and all the other parallel Denji Hien Kyos, because we saw in episode 10, Seme says like before each world ends, the worlds that have lost the Centennial Pandemonium would gather all their feelings, all that they are, and pass it on to the next world. And in this moment, the thoughts and the feelings of everyone that he's ever interacted with, as you know, it's like, you aren't alone in this, and kind of getting like a pep talk from his parents too, of like, I kind of you don't have to face anything alone. Just kind of get up, because you're fortunate enough to have people by your side, you know, who are there for you, and that restores his power. And in that moment, he takes everything that he's gotten from everyone, and he creates all these multiple possibilities, all charging at the time burr and overloading its system, because there's so many possibility that it's trying to delete at once, and it's pushing itself more and more until it overheats. And then it comes down to Takeru landing that one final blow, trying to make the future he wants. And with that, the time bird is gone, and Tsukimiya is left without her defenses, and a strike from both Atsunaga and Yura in conjunction with Seme brings this to an end. She's like, I can do this. Like, you guys alone can't stop me. But in that one fail moment, she does. She loses. And for her, it's like, I don't understand how it came down to this. And when Takeru returns, he tells her it's because he's like, I learned this lesson myself too. But it's like, the reason why up until this point you've been fighting for yourself and alone, but like everyone here was able to beat you because they all joined together. They were fighting for each other. They were fighting for something more, while you were here just fighting for yourself, you know? But, you know, the conversation about the futures we can create are kind of limitless, you know? And he kind of wants to kind of stay side by side for her, but she's like, yeah, this life is over. He's like, yeah, but, you know, the future you came from doesn't necessarily have to exist anymore. The future can be whatever we forge it to be. The possibilities are limitless. There's no limits to it anymore. So we can forge our own path. And he's like, I'm going to find you and stay side by side with you. That's the life I want, and that's the future I want, and I'll make it a possibility. And she's just like, oh, a doofus like you. But she does wonder, like, you know, like she just doesn't believe that like possibility could even happen. And you see like the light fade from her eyes sadly. But that's not the only goodbye, because Seme, now that everything's done, like, he did all of this to stop the convergence, and now it's over. This is the only Denji Hien Kyo world that exists going forward, but this world has limited possibilities and stretches out, you know, across the kind of, I guess in a multiple timeline type of sense. Like, I don't think that technically will exist anymore, the whole parallel thing, but it is still the thing of your futures will never be impeded. Your future is yours to make. And for Seme, it's like, I don't have a right after all that I've caused. I shouldn't have the happy ending of being able to go forward with everyone. That's not fair, and that's not right after all I've done. But for him knowing like that the future can be forged now by people that, you know, and then that's the thing, like, it's like, he started off with the best of intentions and he lost it along the way, and he still was trying to do the right thing, but he was selfish about it. He went about it the wrong way. So many people died, but it's like, because of the choices he made, they are on the path they are now. But he feels comfortable in knowing the people he's leaving the future in the hands of. And now it's like, what happens beyond that, we'll never, you know, we won't know. But, you know, I'd like to believe that he's reunited with his friend after all these years. You know, it's 1,000 years late, but, you know, getting to kind of peacefully go, and kind of like, he's like also never having to carry the burden of like, I don't have to continue the world with it. It's done. I that great sin I've committed, it's now done, and now there's a greater future, a long laundry list of futures waiting for you guys, you know? So it does kind of get you choked up, like the back to back of Tsukimiya and that, just because it's like, man, that's heartbreaking, and it sucks that things kind of came down to that. But I think at the end of the day, like, I guess you could only end one way in that regard. So it kind of does make you wonder about Kazura and Shino. To be fair, they are Shinigami. Or like they're like guardians or whatever. They're tied to like his power. So I don't know if they go with him or whether they're technically still around even when it's all said and done. Even though he's gone, like maybe those powers are around and they can still be summoned. I'd like to believe that they're still, because they're not human. So like, but I don't know. Is it better that they stay behind, or is it better that they go with Seme, that they're always together? I don't know. It's sad either way. It's sad like if they stayed and they're with everyone else, but not with Seme. But it's sad if they go and they're only with Seme. Like, it's sad either way. But when it's all said and done, we time skip to a year. Takeru's got his own little shop where he's cooking for people, even busting Atsunaga and Yura's balls about like, oh, you guys, so when's the wedding date? They're like, well, we're not even dating yet. He's like, oh, you're still going? It's like, when are you guys just gonna put that aside and just finally get together, But yeah, like apparently his shop is very, very successful, but it's because the future is so bright, especially in this world where technology is constantly advancing. He's kind of wanting to take the Futurama approach, specifically to Fry and freezing yourself for a certain amount of time. Granted, yes, Fry didn't do that on purpose, did by accident. Obviously, there's a whole episode of like, well, what if he didn't do it? But either way, he's trying to buy like a sleep capsule to build that future, and he's like, you never know what the future may hold. It might be like, because they were like, oh, you didn't want to join the Onmyojis, and he's like, no, this is what I want to do. It's going to help me work towards the future I want. And for him, it's a situation of like, yeah, think about it, like who knows what the future could be, like an Onmyoji future where like the Onmyojis are riding around on bikes catching bad guys, and we see what would appear to be like descendants from Atsunaga and Yura. So I don't know if those are their descendants together, because you have like someone that looks like Yura, but different color set, same thing for Atsunaga. So I don't know if those are like just kind of like funny enough how the world works out, where like there's another Atsunaga like and Yura like who kind of follow in that same pattern, or whether those are descendants that kind of got together. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just it's kind of almost nice to know like somewhere in the future all the people Takeru's come to know are there as well. I think it's also sad too knowing like he never went back to his world, but I mean, and I think maybe that's also the reason why they've never show you his world. So isekai situations, like I'm actually curious on hand, because it feels like most isekai series that I'm kind of but like the few I've come across, it seems like the tradition is to just like make the person, I mean, I can think of one off the top of my head. I can't think of the title off the head, but there was like one that I know the person went back to the original world a little changed, and the characters they met with them came to the real world with them. But more often than not, it seems like just you stay in that world, just like Takeru. But like I think that's why it's not as sad, because we know his parents are gone, so he doesn't really have any family or anyone in that world. He was alone, but he's staying here in a world where he isn't alone, I think that's interesting that it was never a concern. I mean, I think maybe early on, maybe it was a concern to try and get him back to his world, but that quickly, because for him, he's like, he was here with Tsukimiya, and that's all that mattered, so. But, it's also kind of sad too knowing he's freezing himself, because like the people he's bonding with are gone, because like it's going to be thousands of years in the future. Everyone is gone. Obviously he's going to have a very different reaction than Fry, once again making the Futurama parallel. Woo! He was so excited about it. But like, it's kind of, there's a lot of sad elements to it, but there's also this beautiful thing of, at the end, he was able to keep his promise to Tsukimiya. Like, it's a version of her in the future. And he's like, yeah, I kept that promise. She probably won't remember, and you're going to sound like a weirdo to her. You'd also kind of get in the whole thing of, like, well, this is a younger version of her, meaning, like, the Takeru she knew was, like, a teenager. She's probably, like, a little kid. So, once again, real-world stuff, it's weird and it's awkward, and it's like... But, I mean, it's like, you're going to look after her and take care of her. It doesn't have to necessarily be anything romantic, like, because once again, that gets into creepy territory. Like I said, it's a beautiful sentiment and moment, but it's like, you can't help but draw real-world parallels where you're like, in real world, that'd be disgusting and creepy, because like, that'd be very Groomy-esque. But it's like, yeah, but this is us in a different life. It's like, yeah, but I mean, but still, you could look at it as like he doesn't plan on like that being the relationship, just being there for her and being with her, so she's not alone in that world. She has someone to kind of also guide her down the right path, so she doesn't go down the same path that the Tsukimiya he knew. But you never know. This Tsukimiya could still end up like on some level having some weird feeling of like, do we know each other? And there could be something, like I said, there's sweetness to it. Like if you get rid of the creepy elements, which I know for some people they wouldn't be able to look past it, but because it's anime, I'm trying to look past the creepy implications of it and look at the more sweet and wholesome implications of it, because it is coming from a sweet and wholesome place. So, but they're able to just kind of keep that promise, and once again, so she's not alone. Like I said, whatever their dynamic is, I am kind of sad because after all that she did, like, could you really have a happy ever after for that version of the character after all she's done and what she's been responsible for? But it's sad considering, like, she was kind of his thing going forward. But, it grew beyond Tsukimiya because he came to care for Denji, Hienkyo, and the people there. And he's not alone, and I think that's going to continue. I think the point is, like, even though, like, all these different parallel worlds, he got associate with them and the people there. And I think the point is, like, even though, like, he's not traveling across parallel worlds, he's traveling to the future. I think the same, like I said, sentiment is there where he's going to get close to these people and find a home and a place, So that's how I'm viewing it. I can see this ending not working for some people. They just like not liking how it ends. I'm curious how people feel about it. I like it a lot. In fact, I love it. I think it's kind of nice. I didn't know. I wanted it. This is as close as you can get to a happily ever after with a whole bunch of silver linings to it. It's still, like I said, in a lot of ways when you really, really think about it, it's sad. But there is very wholesome and nice, beauty to the ending being it is. But yeah, this is the end of the road. As I was kind of bringing up earlier, with the state of what this story is, sure, if you wanted to, you could probably tell more stories in this one, but it seems like the story they set out to tell has been concluded all the way through, so I highly doubt we'll get another season. So I'm going to label this as the series finale, because I know there is a manga that is currently being serialized. I don't know if it's just going to maybe go in a little more detail about certain things, maybe explore some side character stuff more. Maybe it'll play out a little differently than an anime. I don't know, but yeah, this was started off as an anime, so like this is a one and done story. So, but it's been a hell of a ride. I've enjoyed it from top, because like I said, I went into this being like, okay, so you got this delinquent character trying to save the girl. He gets isekai'd, but then you're like, once again, the twist at the end of the first episode. Wait, this is a time loop series, and it proceeds to just develop. Every new episode, there's new things, and you're learning, and I theorize, other people theorize about where this is going. It was a hell of a surprise every episode, and just to get where we were, it's been a hell of a journey. I say that a lot, I'm sorry. But I thought this was just like a fun and great series, and just took some really interesting, and I think really big swings with its twists and turns and development, and I'm happy with the end result. Maybe not everyone will be, but I, at the very least, am. So, to everyone involved, David Productions was like the anime studio behind this. There's a few people on the creative side: Fujiko Sakuno, Hideo Takahashi, and Akuto Sato, who are on the more creative, like creating this, and obviously to any other writers, as well as like any of the directors for the episodes, just the animators also in general too, even though I brought up David Productions, I'm just the animators in general, just everyone, the voice actors, everyone from top to bottom involvement for just making the show a possibility. Thank you. This has been I keep saying it again, I say it all the time, sorry. Hell of a ride, and I'm wishing everyone involved the best with their future endeavors. Thank you so much for this great series. And so, like always, you get to the sad part where you just kind of have to stop talking because the thing has come to an end, and so I'm going to end this recording here. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.